Welcome to the Hot Seat Interview. I'm your host, Maggy Martinez, and today we welcome back who first sat in the hot seat about 8 months ago when he was beginning his campaign for United States Congress. A lot has happened since then, a lot. Chris Harden is now the Democratic nominee for Georgia's 11th Congressional District, and he is heading into the general election asking voters to send him to Washington. Chris is an attorney, husband, father, and a long-time North Georgia resident. His campaign has focused on affordability, health care, protecting people's rights, government accountability, and making sure working families have a voice in Washington. So let's dive in.
Present Starbound Studios starring Maggy Martinez and the Hot Seat Interview. Y ahora con ustedes, Maggy Martinez.
Welcome, Chris, to the Hot Seat Interview.
I am so excited to be back here with the magnificent, marvelous, insightful Maggy Martinez. And I'm so, I want to say congratulations on getting Roku. That is amazing.
That's amazing.
That's big.
Those are months of planning. And certainly, it's a great platform for all our candidates to be
awesome.
in.
Yeah,
it's
I'm so excited for you.
Great. I'm so thrilled about it. The day they approved it, I was so happy. We went out for dinner.
That's great. I'm so excited for you. That's amazing, though.
Yes. Chris, when you first came to the hot seat about 8 months ago, you were a candidate trying to convince voters that a Democrat could compete in District 11. Today, you are the Democratic nominee. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, what will Chris Harden actually do in Washington to make everyday's life more affordable for families in District 11?
Well, Chris Harden by himself isn't going to be able to do a whole lot. And I don't think any one congressman can. But my intent is to get our priorities back again. And I want to get our priorities back on the working class. You know, I think we're seeing high profits for all these corporations, and we've just had our first trillionaire. And I think we need to get our priorities back onto the working class and make sure that if you're working a full-time job, that you're able to afford all of your bills, your house, your groceries, your child care, and your health care. And that's what I want to get the focus back on.
Well, I wrote a book, The Secrets of Campaigning, so you think you could run. It's only $25 in Amazon. Buy it because we have to keep this conversation and this platform on air because everything costs money. Everything costs money, especially all the equipment that we have to buy. And please subscribe to the channel. Share the channel to your friends so that way they can listen to Chris Harden, right, Chris?
That's right.
You have to really share the show everywhere so that way people know how he thinks and what he brings to the table for your district. Well, Chris, what are you hearing directly from farmers? Because this is a big issue, especially with the tariff in District 11. And what will you do in Congress to protect family farms and make sure farmers can actually afford to stay in business?
Yeah, that is a huge concern, especially up in the CD11 where we do have some farmers. And, you know, one, we got to get rid of the tariffs and the rising cost. And we also need to end that forever war that's going on. But just getting rid of the tariffs and the high gas prices, it's not going to be enough. What we're concerned about is, you know, these farmers are starting to lose their farms, and they're getting pushed out by the big corporations, and then they're getting bought by these big corporations for pennies on the dollar, and then some, you know, get desperate and want to start using their farmlands for other things like data centers, and things like that, right? So we need to, you know, we need to get our focus, like I said, back on the working class, and that includes our farmers, and we also need to reinvest in the agencies that help monitor our food, like the FDA and the FSIS. You know, where right now, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a lot of food recalls, and that's hurting consumer, you know, confidence in our farmers, which is it's not helping on top of their overhead. Yes. So we need to do those kind of things to protect our farmers.
Yeah, and it's a lot of loss in revenues, not only the supermarket, the farmers, and actually the people that buy that food and have to bring it back.
That's right. When they go to the store, you want the consumers to know that, feel confident in the food that they're going to buy,
right,
and be able to afford it.
Yes, that's important because eggs right now still a little bit high, but we're working on that. Well, Chris, the data center dilemma.
Yes.
This is a big thing. They're trying to establish all this inside our communities.
Yeah.
And should taxpayer and residential utility customer have to subsidize the growth of data center? What is your take about this? And do you think we have to change the law in some way?
No, they should not be footing the bill for this. I mean, we're talking about billion-dollar industries. They can't afford their own, infrastructure, right? I am in support of all the, my counties. A lot of this is in the state and local sector, where most of the counties in my district have chose to do some sort of a moratorium, a pause on the things. Although there was one that just got forced through in Marietta through a 5-2 vote, where before they put the moratorium, the application had been approved, and so they went ahead and approved that application. But I think a lot of people are worried that these data centers, if they're so good for us, why are they ramming them down our throat, right?
Yes.
And that is a concern. And not only that is, it's the transparency that comes with that. A lot of these are making these city councils and different elected officials sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, just to talk about the data centers coming in. So when you're doing that, you're violating your oath to your elected, to your constituents.
Yeah, because there's no transparency.
That's right. That's right. And then, everybody's worried. Like I know we'll take Gordon County, for example, right? They already have the issue with forever chemicals in their drinking water from the carpet mills. They also have overcrowding of chicken. I just found that out. Did you know that there's so farm chemicals in the air is causing some respiratory issues. And now they're really concerned that if you add data centers in there, it's going to add, it's a beautiful country up there, county, and it's one of the most polluted right now because of all of these different things that are coming in and polluting, such a beautiful area. And I think these local officials need to listen to their constituents.
Yes.
And if not, they'll definitely listen to them in November.
Yep, they will.
definitely will.
They will. My main concern is that Atlanta has 5 rivers.
Yes.
Right? And the data centers can affect how the water evaporates, but it doesn't come back to the river.
Right.
We're talking about 80%. It's not coming back. So
right.
What is your concern about this? Because more than electricity and all the things that needs to be put in place for a data center, water is the main concern, or it should be the main concern.
Right, and a lot of people say you can't drink data, right? And we need our water, and we need all of our utilities. And that's one of the major concerns that I have is yet again, this is a way that the data centers or the people who own the data centers are putting the bill back onto the taxpayers, right? They're making us have to reinvest in these utilities, like making sure that we have enough drinking water, like making sure we have enough power to support all of this. I know that the Department of Energy just gave the Georgia Power one of the largest loans in history. I think it was a $26.5 billion loan to build more infrastructure for the power grid and power stations. Why can't these billion-dollar companies do their own infrastructure and own investment, right? And if we don't get these built in enough time, they're building these data centers quickly. Is it going to be at the same pace as the utilities? And if not, what happens? Are we going to have rolling blackouts? Are we going to have a shortage on utilities if we don't match the increase in the data centers? So there's a lot of things to be concerned about just in that section. Not to mention when you get down to the environment. This isn't just about environment or the utilities. It's also about the health. And as we know, the healthcare system is broken as well. So we have people that can't afford health care, and in some places
you have a problem right there.
Yeah, and in some places they don't even have access to healthcare facilities. So it's exacerbating a lot of the issues that we already need to focus on.
We have a lot of problems in this country, and the data centers is one more that is bringing all these issues because we don't know yet the consequences to the environment. We don't know yet how the energy that they need is going to affect the bottom line, like the households. We don't know. It's so many questions they're not answered.
Right.
But we know for sure that the consumption is going to be very, very high because it's the only way. And talking about this, how do you think this data center versus farmland and local control? Because that's another thing. The reason why they're putting this in cities is because the city has the sewers.
Yeah.
But they should build their own infrastructure for that. So would you support federal legislation requiring greater environmental and infrastructure transparency before they approve any project?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it goes back to people not trusting the government. When you have a lack of transparency, even if it's the best idea in the world and it could be the best interest for your communities, if you're not being transparent about it, it's not going to go over well, right? And they're already having a PR problem with the data centers. The transparency issue is not helping the situation. They need to be transparent about it. And like I said, it's just going to be more of a local, that's why it's so important to vote down the ballot, right? In November, don't just stop at the governor and lieutenant governor. Keep going all the way down the ballot, because it's those down the ballots when you get closer to the local elected officials, and it's going to be them that are making the decisions whether or not your community gets a data center.
It's important that you know this because the cities are the ones that are approving this, and we have not seen yet the bylaws or the resolution, municipal resolution. We don't know yet. They try to put one here in Lovejoy, Hampton, and we say no. We say no because it's a lot of questions that are not in place, and the guarantees are not there either.
That's
so
right.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. Well, immigration.
Yeah.
And the humane treatment to the people that are being apprehended, how much billions of dollars invested in facilities that really don't have the necessary, like enough bathroom, enough lunchroom and all that stuff. It's really, really going bad. Where do you draw the line between legitimate immigration enforcement and treatment that becomes cruel, degrading, or inhumane, and what oversight will you demand from Congress when you get there?
Yeah. First of all, we need to remember that these are still people. Mm-hmm. We're still dealing with people, right? And immigration is not a criminal act. Being undocumented is not criminal. It's a civil violation. And so when we're thinking detention, we shouldn't be thinking of correctional facility like when we're housing our criminals. We are housing people. Some people were coming here to get a better life. Some people have been here their whole life, and now they're realizing that their status doesn't, they're about to, their life has just been upended. And, at the very minimum, I think there are some standards, some policy standards within the agencies as to the minimum of what, the quality of life that they should provide, the housing, safe environment, food, and things like that. But from the reports I'm seeing, I'm sure you're seeing, they're not even holding up to that standard.
No.
And it's very concerning, especially when you know that a lot of these are private, owned industries or detention centers. And it worries because are they trying to make their profit at the cost of human lives? That's
what they're doing.
Right.
Basically.
That's right.
Now, we are seeing rape. We are seeing women getting pregnant, and how that's happening.
Yes.
We are seeing people committing suicide. That's what they say, that they committed suicide. We don't know yet. We have seen people abandon in street after they take them out of the facility and just leave it in a place that they don't even know where they are. Yeah. So it is a lot that is going on.
Yes.
And on top of that, they're killing citizens.
Yes.
That protest what actions ICE are taking. Now, President Trump said that this will be only for criminals.
Right.
What exactly do you believe undocumented immigrants with no violent criminal history should be treated differently from the people convicted of serious crimes?
Well, absolutely, and I'm with getting the serious crimes out of here, right? If you're committing a serious crime, then you don't belong in here. You've given up your right to be and follow the American dream. But a lot of them haven't done that. You know, a lot of them are going through the process. And as we'll take the Haitians, for example. You know, the Haitians come here under an asylum or under a special temporary protective status, right? The Supreme Court just ruled that, you know, that Trump can arbitrarily change their status. And now, you know, those people haven't committed any crimes. They just lost the Supreme Court case that now makes them deportable. And so you've got a lot of people who are worried. They don't know what their future is going to hold. They're, you know, the State Department even says Americans shouldn't travel to Haiti because of the crime rates that are going on in Haiti. And that's there's so many different situations when it comes to immigration, you know, but yes, serious crimes we need to deport, and everybody else should be given due process to make sure that, well, here's the thing. If they don't have due process, then we don't have due process, right? So it's very important that everybody is given an opportunity to be heard and to determine whether or not their status is still safe here or if they need to be deported. But if they need to be deported, then we need to do it in a humane way.
Okay, healthcare in rural District 11. What specifically will you do in Congress to improve healthcare access in rural portions of District 11?
Yeah, access to healthcare is a real issue up in Gordon and Pickens and Bartow County. Again, it comes down to priorities. If we can find money for the corporate incentives and wars and tax breaks and disproportionately benefit billionaires, we should be able to find money to invest in healthcare. And I'm not just talking about the insurance, I'm talking about the healthcare system. You know, a lot of the people in my district, some of them have to travel all the way down, you know, almost an hour down to Kennesaw to where the health facilities are. So we need
far?
to. Yes, and imagine if you're, women's health care is last time I was on here. Last time I was here, we talked about how much women's health care was a priority of mine, and you know, as far as I know, they have to travel all the way down to Kennesaw at the very least, or an hour away just to get that.
An hour.
That's right.
You could give birth to a baby in less than 10 minutes,
right.
an hour.
That's right.
That's not good. That's not good. Well, growth, housing, and the character of North Georgia. How do we grow North Georgia without pricing longtime residents out of their own community or destroying the character of the community people move there to enjoy it?
Yeah.
How can we protect this?
Housing prices are like everything else. It's just out of control. I'm hopeful with this new bill that just got passed. There was a bipartisan bill, the Road to Housing Act. The bill that Trump refused to sign and tried to hold it up.
SAVE Act?
He was trying. Yeah, that's right. He was trying to hold it hostage for the SAVE Act, but it passed regardless. And I'm hopeful that that's going to bring some much needed relief. What it's designed to do is to add more housing into the market to help lower the cost or lower the pricing of houses. Some of the concerns that I have, one is, with the immigration policy, I know this is, I'm not for, taking advantage of workers, but now that immigration has kicked in, a lot of the building is going to the cost of building these houses is going to increase. So we might not see that advantage that we wanted from the houses. But even more than that, it's some of that bill is about cutting through the red tape for rezoning. And I'm worried that big corporations that are invested in these houses are going to take advantage of those loopholes. And if we don't have the right people in place to protect us from that, where it should be helping to get more housing into the market so we can have lower housing and more housing, just so the housing can meet the demand.
Right.
I'm worried that they're going to use these zoning laws to push in more data centers or more zones for their needs instead of the people's needs.
That's right. Well, if you were elected, can you say tonight to a Republican farmer in Bartow County, an independent voter in Cherokee, or a conservative in Pickens County who may disagree with you politically, why should they trust Chris Harden to represent them in Washington? And this is a very important question. Look at that camera, please.
It is. And here's what I've been telling everybody. You don't have to be a Democrat to vote for me. And if you vote for me, that doesn't make you a Democrat. And I think it's very important that you understand that, because I think there's a lot of people that are feeling disenfranchised right now because they don't like what's going on in Washington. And I think they're looking for some new faces to help out. And I'm asking you to give me a chance. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm an attorney from North Georgia. I was born in a trailer park right here in North Georgia. I've lived here. I work here. I know the struggles that we face in North Georgia. And I know the frustrations of busting your ass, doing everything right that you're supposed to do, and still barely squeaking by. So I'm going to Washington to represent you. I'm not trying to become a congressman just to get rich. I'm actually going to affect change and fight for the working man.
Well, tell the voters of Georgia 11 what the first 3 things you're going to do when you get to Congress, because I don't have any doubt that you're going to get to Congress.
Well, here's what I want you to do. When I get there, I want you to give me an opportunity to serve you, and then I want you to hold me accountable. And if I don't do anything else, I want you to make sure that I show up? Did I listen to you? Did I vote for CD 11's best interest? Did I bring resources back home? Did I stand up when people were abusing their power? Did I reach across the aisle when working with someone on the other side of the aisle would actually benefit CD 11? And most importantly, did I remember who I was representing? Because at the end of the day, that's how I intend to serve. So if I don't do anything else, make sure I do that. And if you give me a chance and I don't do that, then hold me accountable.
Okay. Say it again.
electharden.com.
Okay, it's important that you visit his website and send those donations, because without donation, the candidates can't do anything. We are now in so many platforms. This is incredible. We are in YouTube. We are in Roku TV. We are in Vimeo. We are in starboundpr.com. We are in Apple Podcaster. This is the latest one. And this platform helps those candidates to talk to you directly and bring the ideas that will improve the quality of life of the communities and your family. Don't forget to share the show because it's important. Don't forget to visit his website, because that way you know exactly what he brings to the table. And this is Maggy Martinez, the Hot Seat Interview. Until next time.